we got some stuff going on here I needed to get off my mind, or I needed to get out to you guys, and it has to do with Stewart-Haas Racing, basically announcing they're leaving the sport. I posted last night, I did a post on X last night, I talked about the charter system and what it might be, the value it might have for these guys that are selling teams, right? When the charter system was put in, there were a couple reasons. Number one, this goes back, originally it goes back to the 90s when we had so many cars trying to get in these events and guys would miss races. And the problem was we had guys that had big time sponsors that missed races, okay, because they couldn't qualify good. So they come up with their provisional spots and all that. That kind of took care of a little bit of it for a while. And then, the guys that put their blood, sweat, and tears into the sport for years as an owner, 30 or 40 years, and when they get out of the sport, they've got nothing. It's a fire sale. So everything they put in it had no value. So those are the two reasons they started this charter deal. And after I put the post out last night, I seen some people talking about B.J. McLeod selling and what he got, but I'm not really sure what. We heard all kinds of numbers what that charter sold for, but this deal with Stewart-Haas, I think, is going to really show, what the value is of these charters. If they got 4 charters to sell, I'm sure they've already probably worked out 2 or 3. I got an idea that's already happened in the background. I don't know, but anyhow, it's going to be interesting to see all that. I think Kenny on Kenny Wallace Show or on one of his deals, I think he dove into this deeper. But the thing I want to touch on right now with you guys are the comments that are being made about the state of our sport because of Stewart-Haas Racing leaving, right? Fans talk about it and the demise, and it's always the same group, it seems like. But, we've got some negative journalists in our sport that'll take a story and make it negative, okay? And those are probably the ones, those guys and the negative fans, these are the ones this story's for, okay? I want to point out something. You're talking about Stewart-Haas pulling out and how that impacts our sport, and our sport must be on the demise. It's got to be going downhill for a team like that to pull out, and just be gone. No, that's not the case. Let's look back a little bit. If you go back in history, golly, who was that first big Carl Kiehafer, whatever his name was? He back in the late 50s, he had those Chrysler 300s. If some of you old guys might remember, if you don't, look it up. He came into their sport from up north or wherever he was from, and very professional deal. He fielded 3 or 4 or 5 cars at times. If you look back at old pictures, you'll see he came to our sport like gangbusters, man, and very professional the way he presented himself and the way he did his teams. He had 4 or 5 cars, I think 4 or 5 teams, and he came into our sport for a while and he left, right? He just got tired of it or whatever, and he left, and the sport survived. And then, our main stalwarts over the years, you had Junior Johnson and Associates, right? One time he was the Rick Hendrick of our sport. He up and left. Petty Enterprises, one time the Hendricks of our sport. They up and left, okay? You've had, Bud Moore Engineering, right? One of the stalwarts of our sport for years and years and years. They up and left. And if you look at all of them, most of them, the owners got older, okay? And when they got older, they realized, they just couldn't put into the sport into that team what needed to be put into it from an owner's perspective to make the thing survive, right? Furniture Row, they won a championship, right? And they got out. Now, the rumors are because of money, it just cost them flat too much to keep going, even though it's a championship team, right? But the deal with Stewart-Haas, and they're leaving, but there's 4 charters there, okay? Those 4 charters, somebody's going to pick them up. Those 4 charters mean 4 race cars. That means 4 teams. It means employees. And I mean, hell, maybe somebody could come in there and buy the whole thing. I don't know, right? Or to be spread out. But by them leaving, in my mind, it's better than it was years ago when Junior left and Bud Moore left, because they left with a 1-car team or 2-car team at the most, right? And those employees were left without jobs, so they had to go find a job with another team that already had employees, so it put a hurting on people. But this deal here with them leaving, it's still, they're leaving the sport, but there's still 4 charters there. So these guys, I feel like, are going to have jobs and places to be. It's obvious if you don't understand what it takes to be an owner in our sport, which I fully don't because I was never an owner in Cup, although I did my own Busch deal, the amount of time, the amount of effort, the amount of willpower, the amount of everything you've got that it takes to be a successful owner in Winston Cup racing, or I'm sorry, Cup racing now, it's off the charts. You take Gene Haas, he's got his F1 thing going on. I think he had a few little health issues he had to work on and contend with. You know, Tony's off doing his drag racing and his racetracks and his dirt stuff and all. I remember one time asking Tony years ago, I said, Tony, what would make you happy? What would make you happy, Tony? And he told me verbatim, Rick, if I could just race my dirt car, you know, 5 or 6 nights a week, I'd be the happiest man on the earth, right? And so, you know, that's kind of Tony's mindset. Now he's got the drag racing thing going on. But big with Tony, you know, he married the Pritchard lady, Leah, and, you know, and she kind of backed off because they want to start a family and have children. Well, you know, he's off doing all his stuff. He doesn't have but so much time. You know, Gene Haas is off doing his stuff. He doesn't have but so much time. As an owner in Cup, you have got to be involved. You have got to be there. You've got to be there all the time. So in my mind, I look at it like these guys probably felt like they were not giving the team justice. They weren't giving their drivers, they weren't giving their crew guys the due or the justice that those guys should have and deserve, right? I think, I haven't heard it put that way, but I think that might play into it more than I just want out of the sport, okay? I don't want to be in the sport anymore. I think probably they're looking at all these guys' careers, all these drivers, the crew chiefs, you know, you look at Childress, you look at, you know, all these guys that's involved in that deal. And they, Tony and Gene, I'm sure I know Tony. I don't know Gene that well at all, but I do know Tony pretty well. And I know that he wants his people to always do well and to be successful. And, you know, Tony would always give what he needed to give to see that happen. And he realizes if he's not there or Gene's not there, then the thing just isn't, you know, it just isn't what it needs to be. I think Harvick alluded to that a little bit, Kevin. So, you know, in my mind, that's probably, you know, the reasons for them leaving. But my point being, I want everybody to understand, teams come and go in our sport. It's happened, all right? The greatest teams in our sport have been here and they've left for various reasons, whatever. It has nothing to do with the state of our sport, right? No matter what fans might want to make of it, and that's fine. All fans have their opinions, but the thing that gets me is some of our negative journalists, and I'm talking about journalists that are good journalists, but they'll turn every story into a negative, no matter what the thing is, you know. And I do not see this as a negative for our sport. It just, you know, it doesn't resonate that way with me because I've seen so many of them over the years. They're gone, and our sport keeps flourishing and keeps going. To me, this is the best deal that ever happened with the team leaving because they're leaving, but the 4 charters are still there, guys. You've still got 4 race teams that are going to be there next year running under each one of those charters. So to me, it's a very, very, very positive thing. I hate that Stewart-Haas is gone. I mean, yeah, it's upsetting and unsettling for all the employees and the drivers trying to figure out what they got to do and what they're going to do. And for those guys, I feel for you. Honestly, I do. I've been in that spot, man, and it's not fun. It's not fun at all. But there is light at the end of the tunnel of this thing for those people. But for the overall sport, you know, I think it's a great thing because, again, when teams left before, when Junior left, all of a sudden there's teams without, you know, there's employees nowhere to go, drivers nowhere to go. You know, there's no place to pick it up. Well, now we do with the charters. So, somehow or another, we're going to get this on the Rick Mast show. If I ever find my producer again, we're going to do this. I don't know where or how or what, but anyhow, to be on there. So anyhow, I had to get that off my chest, guys. So anyhow, have a good day. Peace out. Bye.